Welcome back to Euro Football Daily, where today we're taking a look at 10 players who have gone off the boil this season. 10. Mesut Ozil. Whatever you think of Mesut Ozil, the German has been a top creator his whole career. 3 years ago, he was the best in Europe, making an insane 4.3 chances per game, and the 3.5 he put up last year still ranked among Europe's top 5. But the arrival of Unai Emery at Arsenal has seen the former Madrid man dropped, moved and publicly criticised for his lack of defensive work. Unsurprising, given that he ranks bottom among Arsenal's outfielders for interceptions and tackles per game. This season, Ozil lays on just 2.3 key passes per match, the lowest number of his entire career, and his playing time has also declined for the third consecutive campaign. In fact, the number 10 has started just 20 of Arsenal's league games, a steep price for a guy whose wage is twice that of the next highest earner at the club. And in that time, he contributed just 5 goals and 2 assists, while Mkhitaryan and Ramsey have been involved in 10 apiece, despite playing 200 and 400 minutes less than Ozil respectively. Having been indispensable to Arsene Wenger, Ozil is now peripheral, with multiple reports that the Gunners will attempt to move their once-record signing on in 2019. Wherever he ends up next year, let's hope the 30-year-old can rediscover his magic. 9. Gareth Bale. The man who replaced Ozil at Real Madrid has not fared much better in 2018-19. Barring a brace in the last 2 games of the season, it will be just the second year in 7 that the Welshman has failed to reach double figures in the league, having netted 8 and assisted 3 in 29 appearances. That means he's scored or assisted every 163 minutes, compared to every 100 minutes last campaign and every 60 minutes in his best year at the club. And though Ronaldo was often seen as blocking Bale's development, the former Spurs man has actually seen his creativity vanish without the Portuguese. Having averaged around 2 key passes per 90 during his time at Real, and even more than that at Tottenham, Bale now makes 0.8 chances a game, barely more than Casemiro. More worryingly, Bale's mobility is starting to fade too. His last 3 seasons are his 3 worst for dribbles completed per match, halving from around 2.5 at his peak to 1.2 now. 30 this summer, Bale's stats show why Real are keen to offload the Galactico, but it's hard to see who will stump up the cash to watch his decline. But before we move on to our next section, make sure if you haven't already to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you don't miss another EFD video. 8. Rony Lopes. Along with Jadon Sancho and Adrien Rabiot, Rony Lopes was one of a host of former Man City youth players expected to explode in 2018-19. The Portuguese scored 15 and assisted 5 in a breakout campaign last year, but somehow missed out on his nation's World Cup squad, before enduring an injury hit beginning to the season. When he came back, Monaco were in a relegation battle, but Lopes has gone on to play nearly 1,800 Liga minutes. However, in that time, he's been involved in just 4 goals, meaning that the wide man has gone from contributing to a goal every 128 minutes to 1 every 439. XG suggests that'll come around, putting Lopes' predicted output at around 8 goals and assists for the season. But he's got into bad habits as Monaco's situation has grown more desperate. Having taken 38% of his shots from outside the box last season, already a hefty proportion, 48% of his efforts now come from more than 18 yards out, the opposite of what you'd hope to see from a player hitting 23 when forwards usually start to reach top production. That's partially down to Monaco losing the creativity of Thomas Lemar and João Moutinho, but Lopes has also dribbled less and defended less without compensating for that on the attacking end. Having seen his value more than double in the 2017-18 season, according to Transfermarkt, Lopes now seems to have stalled. He'll need a big year in 2019-20 if he wants to make it out of the lower reaches of French football. 7. N'Golo Kante. Despite a big World Cup, if there was one player who would have expected to play just as well this season as last, it's N'Golo Kante. The holding midfielder has made a name for himself with his brilliant tenacity, game reading and anticipation, but the arrival of Jorginho and Maurizio Sarri in 2018 saw him shifted into a more attacking role, often putting the Frenchman further forward than Kovacic and Loftus-Cheek. As a result, Kante has 8 goal involvements in the league, his best tally ever, but it's come at a cost, with a big decline in the defensive output which made the Frenchman a superstar. With 2.2 tackles a game, he's winning the ball less frequently than ever before, with previous seasons at Chelsea hovering around 3.5. Interceptions likewise have plummeted from 4.6 during his spell at Leicester to 3 last year, and this year just 1.3. That means that while he won the ball back for his side every 9 minutes at the King Power and every 15 minutes under Kante, he now does so once every 26 minutes, a drop so big that it can't be entirely chalked up to a greater share of possession. After 12 months in which he seemed only to make his team worse, Sarri has a huge task ahead of him, with Chelsea facing a transfer ban and the loss of Eden Hazard. If he wants to know how to improve his side, he may want to ask the last 2 Italians to manage his star midfielder and let Kante be Kante. 6. Julian Weigl. Once seen as the natural successor to Sergio Busquets, Julian Weigl is now all but forgotten at Borussia Dortmund after 2 poor campaigns. But while 2017-18 was merely a mess, 2018-19 has seen the 23-year-old shifted into a centre-back role to accommodate Lucien Favre's favoured midfield pairing of Thomas Delaney and Axel Witsel. Unsurprisingly, Weigl's defensive numbers have decreased, 5 tackles and interceptions a game over the previous 2 years, dropping to just 3 this season. He hasn't been able to match up the physical requirements of his new position either, winning just 50% of his duels now that he's up against centre forwards, compared to the 60% he managed when he faced other midfielders. As a result, he's played under 1,300 league minutes for Favre, having managed an average of 2,200 over his other 3 seasons for BVB. Having won 5 caps in 2016 and 2017, he now hasn't earned a call-up in 2 years, and with Favre favouring a midfield too, the low-energy Weigl is unlikely to see a revival at Dortmund. Another year like this and you can expect to see the German force his way out, and for much less than the 80 million euros he was once rated at. 5. Mark Uth. We've previously said that we'd be very wary of buying any Hoffenheim player, given the way that coach Julian Nagelsmann has supercharged their attacking numbers, despite the lack of superstars in the squad. And Mark Uth is case study number 1. The German forward was top scorer and top assister for Die Kreisgauer last year, netting 14 goals and delivering 8 assists. So Schalke were delighted to acquire him on a free in the summer of 2018. Since then, Uth has made 20 league appearances for his new side, scored twice and assisted just once, as Schalke have dropped from 2nd place into a relegation battle, losing coach Domenico Tedesco in the process. Part of the reason is their inability to create quality chances. This campaign, Uth has actually made more attempts on goal than last year, but according to XG, his efforts on average have a 12% chance of going in. Decent, but a massive decline from 18% at Hoffenheim. Uth's creativity has disappeared too, with the 27-year-old making just 13 chances in 20 matches. Meanwhile, Hoffenheim's strike partnership of Kramaric and Belfodil have got 16 and 15 league goals respectively. Somehow, on a free transfer, Schalke got robbed. 4. Edin Dzeko. Permanently underrated, Edin Dzeko has now been at Roma for 4 years, and back in 2016-17 had the season of his life, netting 29 league goals to earn Serie A's top scorer award, an accolade he had already achieved in Germany. But after contributing to 38 goals in 37 games that year, he managed 20 in 36 the next season, and this campaign he's down to just 8 goals and 5 assists in 28 appearances for the Giallorossi, giving him the same strike rate as former Man City teammate and defender Alexander Kolarov. Now 33, the Bosnian is still able to carve out opportunities for himself, with a massive 3.4 shots a game coming from inside the box. However, that number used to be 4.5, and more importantly, the entire drop-off is in shots taken from inside the area with his feet. These are the most valuable chances a striker can get, and Dzeko has gone from getting over 3 of them a game to around 1.7, meaning that he's becoming more reliant on headed chances, generally a worse quality of effort. As a result, he's gone from 0.96 expected goals per 90 2 years ago, Cristiano Ronaldo levels, to 0.53, around the level of Javier Hernandez. Now firmly in the veteran category, after a glorious late summer to his career, it seems that Dzeko is finally seeing the time catch up on him. 3. Leonardo Bonucci. Regardless of an 8th consecutive title, the Juve machine might just be starting to experience mechanical difficulties. This year, the Bianconeri have allowed 25 goals in 35 games at the time of writing, making it likely to end up the worst defensive performance of the last 5 years, something XG backs up, with Juve's fabled rearguard allowing 0.9 expected goals against per match this season, up from 0.75 last year. That still looks strong, but at the top level, the old lady looks more frail than ever, despite investing €100 million in Cristiano Ronaldo in an attempt to earn a third European crown. Bonucci and Szczesny were the only players to feature in every minute of Juve's 2018-19 UCL run, as the club suffered embarrassing losses to Atletico, Man United and Ajax. Among Juve players in the competition, Bonucci ranked 10th for interceptions and 15th for tackles, and while defensive actions often say more about a defender's role than their quality, it's alarming that in 2016-17, when Juve reached the final, Bonucci won possession 3.7 times a match, and now he manages just 1.9. He now wins just 40% of his aerial duels in European games, down from 50%, and even his long ball accuracy has dropped off marginally. With Barzagli due to retire this summer and Chiellini set to turn 35, Juventus might face the unthinkable and find themselves with no reliable centre-backs in 2020. 2. Thomas Lemar. Putting Thomas Lemar in at number 2 may be a little bit unfair. Strangely, the Atletico Madrid star has gone through much the same change as former teammate Bernardo Silva has at Man City, moving from attack back into midfield. Where Lemar was once a creator, delivering 8 assists last year and 10 in Monaco's title-winning season, he is now a true midfielder, with his defensive work rising from under 2 tackles and interceptions a game to over 3. That's a typical Simeone effect, and Atleti's defend and counter setup has also seen Lemar improve from 1.7 dribbles a game to 2.4, a number beaten by only Correa in the Atleti squad. However, while Bernardo Silva has maintained a strong attacking output despite his role change, Lemar's has cratered. Involved in 19 goals in 2016-17 and 10 in 2017-18, this year he's contributed just 6, with shot numbers the lowest of his career and key passes plummeting too. The Frenchman was brought in to take pressure off Antoine Griezmann, but once again, his countryman is his side's best scorer and best creator, responsible for 46% of Atleti's goals. With Barcelona looking mortal and Real Madrid lurching from disaster to disaster, a strong season from Lemar could have brought the Wanda Metropolitano its first title. Instead, they and he are lucky to be second. 1. Harry Kane. This has been the worst scoring season of Harry Kane's career so far, but clearly it hasn't been a total disaster. At the time of writing, he has 17 league goals, and Spurs fans will point out that he's missed over a quarter of the season, with injury limiting him to just 28 appearances. However, 2 years ago he played just 2 games more and recorded 29 goals, and this season 24% of his output has come from the penalty spot, with 4 scored in the Prem alone. Crucially, he's getting fewer chances from open play, where he took over 5 shots a game last season, something just Ronaldo, Messi and Lorenzo Insigne have managed this campaign. He's now well below 4. Good, but not great. As a result, if you take out the penalties, his XG per 90 is at 0.48. That's way down from 0.7 in 2017-18, making it the first time in his professional career that it's dropped below 5, and puts him level for the year with Burnley's Ashley Barnes. Hardly world-class company. These are worrying signs, and though it's possible that a long World Cup has simply left the England forward struggling for fitness, a run of 4 ankle injuries in 3 seasons suggests a troubling possibility. We may have already seen the best of Harry Kane. So those were our 10 players who have declined this season, but what did you make of it? Let us know in the comments below. If you've enjoyed this video, why not click on one that's right next to me on screen right now? And as always, don't forget to like and subscribe.